In part 1, we heard researcher Joel Hurd introduce the vocalizations heard in Puyallup in 1973, followed by the unusual sounds shared in their entirety. Part 2 will feature some earlier vocalizations also from the same area, followed by comments by Washington State Trooper Mark Pittenger, John Green's sentiments regarding the vocalizations, and a very telling account and revelation from researcher Thomas Steenberg.
Please support this channel by subscribing and leaving comments. Stay well, stay safe.
The second tape you are about to hear was recorded by Ed McDicken, also of the Forest Green area. During the 1.5 years that the McDickens have lived in Forest Green, they have heard the screams some 40 to 50 times. This tape was taken at night, sometime during the latter half of 1972. The barking of dogs dominates this tape and illustrates the usual reaction dogs have to the night screams. The McDickens assured me that if the screams sounded like coyotes, it was only because the Sasquatch actually imitate coyotes. This last part of my tape, I have dubbed sections of a master tape which Mark Pittenger has prepared. So in effect, I have third-hand copies of the following screams. I am leaving Pittenger's own narration intact to explain the circumstances of these recordings.
Tape mainly is to acquaint the non-believers that this animal exists, that there definitely is something out there that cannot be explained. I purposely set out with a kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude at first to intentionally disprove this by using the investigative techniques which I was taught at the Washington State Patrol Academy and that I have gained through my experience as a police officer. However, at this time I am doing this on an unofficial type basis, strictly on my own time, without any involvement with the Washington State Patrol. We will begin the tape shortly with the first known calls in this particular area of this animal, and I will try to come up with the date and the approximate time that these calls were heard. They will be from a tape by Mr. Ayres in the Forest Green area, tapes by Chuck and Shirley Challenger, and also by Jay Bartholomew. Also involved in the investigation, along with the previously mentioned people, are Bob and Daisy Hubel of the Lakewood area. We'll begin now with some of the earlier calls that this animal makes. You'll notice in one of the tapes a definite siren type sound. This siren was confirmed by me to be Powers Ambulance on an emergency run out of the Puyallup city limits going south on State Route number 161, known in this area as Meridian, South Meridian, at this time and date in question. However, you'll also notice these distinctive callings heard over the volume of the siren in the
In his book, Sasquatch, The Apes Among Us, John Green wrote the following in part regarding the Puyallup screams.
If there is one fact in this whole strange business that has been established beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is that something screams at Puyallup. Unfortunately, it isn't doing it as much as it used to. There is no proof whatever that the creature is a Sasquatch. That has been inferred from the fact that there have been at least 8 reports of Sasquatches seen in the same area since the screaming was first noted, plus a good set of 14-inch footprints crossing a new dirt road in January 1975, a few hundred yards from Forest Green. 2 of the sighting reports were by a state trooper on patrol in the area at night. Other than the Sasquatch, the chief suspect regarding the screams is the coyote. The screams are certainly not normal coyote noises, and it is hard to imagine a coyote generating such volume. However, there are a number of intermediate noises that some people identify as coyote sounds, while others consider them to be made by the screamer. I don't know what screams at Puyallup, but I know that something does, and I find it absolutely fascinating that it goes on year after year without anyone ever being able to prove what is doing it.
Here is researcher Thomas Steenberg commenting on the Puyallup screams as well as other similar recorded vocalizations.
Well, there was a series of recordings which no one could identify that were first recorded in 1969-70 near Puyallup, Washington. And they were the most oddest cries you ever heard. And these cries, myself included, I thought if it was ever proven what made these cries, it would probably end up being Sasquatch in Oregon. That was the theory. And then in 1979 near Snohomish, there was similar cries taken by a woman and her father outside their farmhouse that were exactly the same, same type of sounds. And again in 1993, the recordings made along the Klamath River in Northern California, which again were the same. So everybody thought that these were, of all the recorded sounds, it was probably these 3 that would turn out to be Sasquatch in origin, and I kind of went along with that. But and of course many of my colleagues who do call blasting use these sounds in their call blasting attempts in their expeditions. Well, in 2006 we had a series of sounds frightening the people outside the trailer park near the Chehalis Flats, near the Chehalis Reserve on the Harrison River. And John Green told these people to, even if they don't see anything, next time it happens, put their camcorder out in the porch and at least get so we can hear what they were talking about. And once again, they sounded exactly like the Puyallup recordings, the Snohomish recordings, and the Klamath recordings. So we did an investigation in that area that went on for about 3 weeks. And then on April the 5th, 2006, Jerry Matthews and myself were out in the flats. We heard the sounds. And we went racing towards them thinking, this is it. We're finally going to see what's making these sounds. And we did. It was a coyote. It looked like invisible hands were squeezing this animal's guts as it let out this incredible cry. And you know, I'm 53. I've been around coyotes my whole life. I have never heard this sound uttered by a coyote before. Yeah. I mean, back in Water Valley, Alberta, it was like a symphony of coyotes. They went out. They were all night. We used to sit out on the porch and listen to them. Yeah. But not this particular sound. Now, what happened was a second coyote came bounding out of the tree line, and it was like a happy reunion between 2 puppies. They both reverted back to that familiar yip, yip, yipping type sound we've heard a million times. Right. And seen coyotes make a million times. It looked like a happy reunion, and off they went bounding and jumping on each other and stuff, and just happy as a clam. And what I think it is a location cry, a rarely heard or recorded location cry, letting another coyote know where it is. Yeah. So that took care of the Chehalis sounds, and as far as I'm concerned, it also took care of the Puyallup recordings in the late 1960s, the Snohomish recordings in 1979, and the Klamath recordings in 1993. Now, when I announced this, a lot of my colleagues who use these sounds of cloud blasting, and a lot of people in general, didn't want to hear it.
Now, hold on a second. Now Matt Moneymaker says that Sasquatches imitate coyotes.
Yeah, he's not the only one.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say things like that. And even someone said it was a coyote impersonating a Sasquatch, which I find rather odd, that people just wouldn't accept a coyote making this sound, but they'll accept a Sasquatch making this sound, which is kind of strange to me, but hey, there you go. But I can't change the facts. The facts are I saw a coyote emitting the Chehalis sound, and I think I'm right. That it basically explains all those other sounds too.
There you have it, folks. Coyotes. We have to learn to not ascribe vocalizations to Sasquatch when we don't see Sasquatch vocalizing. In this case, although it was many, many years later, Thomas Steenberg did see the vocalizer, and it was not a Sasquatch.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments. Stay safe, stay well.